And I got way too many feels, way too much emotion. I don't even know what's real. I don't need to get along with your best friend, even better with your family.
What's up, friends, and welcome to today's video. Obviously, we're doing a little sit-down video. I need to do more Q&As or something so I can use this backdrop more often, but today's video is going to be all about how I regained my period, and I did an Instagram post about this, so I'll put a screenshot here. That is basically the template that I am using to chat you through everything here. And with that, I think it's going to be most beneficial if I give you a little bit of a backstory and some disclaimers because, hello, it's the internet, right? So first things first, I am not a doctor. I am not holding myself out as a doctor. I do not want anyone to take my journey and implement it for themselves and blindly follow this advice in hopes that you regain your period, because everyone's body is different, and I'll get into this, but I would really recommend that you just get blood work done first thing. That way you know where you're at, and then you can build a game plan from there. So, as far as my background goes with my freaking period, so go back to, teenage Melissa. I was on birth control for 7 years. I came off birth control in 2016. It took me a few months. I regained a natural cycle, went through hell. That was not a good time. The biggest thing I remember was I had really, really bad back acne. That fucking sucked. It was painful. It was fugly. It was so awful. So then I went on spironolactone to help with my acne, which I later learned was, again, just me putting hormones into my body, which is not what I wanted to do. So I got off that, and eventually my body evened itself out, right? So that's 2016. I started prep for the first time in summer of 2017. Lost my period a month into prep. So I prep, I compete in October of 2017. I reverse out of it. I started mini cut a few months later. Then I go into like another growing phase, like just living my life. I do not get another period until October of 2018. So 1 year post show, but about a year and a half post last period. I get my period in October of 2018. I get my period in November of 2018. I enter into a mini cut. I lose my period. So far we've had 2 periods. Then I'm just living my life, right? Going to a mini cut. Holidays, 2018. I graduate law school. I bring in the new year. I move out to California in March. At this point, I'm going through a lean growing phase. Still don't have my period back yet. And then I start prep in April of 2019. Then I compete in November of 2019. So that's about 8 months ago. December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are 8 months post-show. Did not get a period until 2 weeks ago today. Now, what I will say is I take full responsibility for not prioritizing getting my period back between shows. There's really no excuse for it. So I don't want anybody to think that I blame my old coach or anything. He had great intentions. I just did not make it abundantly clear that I had not regained a cycle. So that stuff aside, I had 2 periods in 3 years. That is not okay under any circumstances. Okay? So let me just chat about all the things that I freaking did. Okay, so obviously, first things first, in order to have a period, your body needs to feel safe. And feeling safe requires a certain level of body fat on a female in order to reproduce another human. That is just how things work. So a lot of competitors lose their periods in prep. It is very, very normal, but it should not take long to regain a cycle afterward. And there are natural supplements, which I'll go into, that you can be taking while you are prepping to maintain as much of a cycle as possible. So there's that. But after a show, you're going to have to gain weight. You're going to have to put on body fat, and you're going to have to spend time there. You're going to have to eat more because your body needs more calories to not only fuel yourself, but to have a cycle. Having a cycle requires so much energy from your body, and that's why it's one of the first things to go when we start dieting, right? So you're gonna have to eat more, you're gonna have to gain weight, and you're gonna have to spend time there, okay? Now I'm not saying get fat. Like, that's not how it works. But your body needs a certain amount of body fat, again, to feel safe enough to have a period. I am someone who I lose it very easily. My body wants to be heavier than where I want to be, but I don't get to decide. Body keeps the score, right? So I put on weight, I put on body fat. Am I uncomfortable right now? Yeah, full transparency. But I am not going to attempt any sort of diet until I'm having regular cycles. So that's the biggest thing. The next thing is, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, get your blood work done. Now, if you're someone who just competed, don't get your blood work done right now. You're guaranteed to be fucked up. Like, just give yourself a few months to reverse, to let things stabilize and come out of this shreddiness, okay? So I would recommend getting a full metabolic panel. I ordered my labs through Alex Spinozo online. I will put his Instagram page here. He is wonderful. You can order labs through his website, so you can bypass your primary care provider, so you don't have to go in, pay for a visit, and your primary care provider is likely not going to order the labs that you want anyways. So I ordered them through Alex. I went to LabCorp here in San Diego, got my blood drawn, and I had the results and Alex's interpretation. He sent a voice memo within 3 days. So I knew exactly where I was on all fronts. And just for full transparency, I will read you through the markers that I looked for, like the labs that I ordered. So I ordered a CBC, that is a complete blood count with differential / platelet. So this is just going to show you things like your white and red blood cell counts, hemoglobin, hematocrit, all these little guys, okay? I also ordered a comprehensive metabolic panel. So for those of you health nuts who are interested, that includes glucose, BUN, creatinine, sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, protein, albumin, globulin, AG ratio, bilirubin, lots of other things. And I also ordered a lipid panel, which shows total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL and LDL cholesterol, as well as TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. And last up, we have FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone. That is a female hormone that helps you ovulate. Progesterone, estradiol, which is a form of estrogen, and testosterone. So obviously that last one is full of hormones. You want to look at all this just to make sure you're in a great spot, right? The only things that came back out of range for me were a couple things that Alex said not to worry about, but my LDL cholesterol was a little bit high, and my testosterone was a little bit low. But the other thing is my progesterone was low. It did not show up as like out of range, but it's low. So that's what I really wanted to look at. And knowing where I'm at with those hormones, that is how we created a game plan. And when I say we, I am talking about Will Sage. I will put his Instagram right here. He is a friend that I met out here at the gym. He is an IFBB pro. He is an amazing fucking coach. He coaches a lot of people in my friend group, and he knows his shit. Like, I trust this man with my life. I sent him my blood work. He told me, here's the plan, which I will dive into in a second, but I want to finish up this lab stuff first. So Dr. Alex Spinozo recommended that I work on boosting testosterone, and Will and I are working through the progesterone stuff as well, but everything else looked good. Besides the LDL cholesterol, it was a little bit higher, which I am taking a supplement for that. And yeah, everything else was good. I was happy to see that my thyroid was fine, because that was just like a little scary. Before I got this blood work done, I was like a little scared that maybe something was really, really wrong, but this is peace of mind, people. This is why you get your blood work done. So do that. Now, when it comes to Will creating the game plan for me, he knew that I was chronically inflamed, so just always inflamed, and systemically inflamed. So, you know, when you get an injury, like say you hurt your shoulder's gonna be inflamed. I was just inflamed all over, all the time. Clearly an indication of not recovering well. Okay, so even throughout quarantine, I was driving myself into the ground with training, and like my traps are always tight. Like I was sore, I was tight all the freaking time, and I didn't realize it, because when you feel so shitty all the time, it becomes normalized. So I didn't realize that. And another kicker is when your whole body is inflamed, it creates these things called cytokines. And I've talked about this in a previous video, but let's just refresh here. Cytokines will bind to your hormone receptors. So all your hormones out here that are trying to communicate throughout your body cannot bind to the hormone receptors. Therefore, your hormones are not communicating throughout your entire body. Okay, so that's a huge reason why inflammation is bad. I mean, inflammation in itself is not a bad thing because we do need that response, but it's a problem when you have too much of it, right? Especially just all over all the time. So Will gave me a list of foods. They're all just like whole nutrient dense foods to really focus on to just bring down inflammation and get gut health in a good place. So those foods included things like, so for protein sources, we had like salmon, ground beef, chicken, whole eggs, egg whites, any fish besides tilapia, because tilapia is garbage fish, okay? Do not eat tilapia. It is the only fish that can live on its own shit. It is literally a bottom feeder, okay? Carbs, we just focused on oats, cream of rice, potatoes, rice cakes, that kind of stuff. And then fats, any nut butter, the only ingredient is supposed to be the nut, which plain almond butter, my jam, dude, my freaking jam. Oils, I don't even remember what other fat, whole eggs, fat from salmon, just very whole, nutrient dense, not processed foods, which that is pretty much how I eat anyway, so I didn't have to change anything really besides he wanted me to limit protein powder to once a day, so I had to put my protein brownie batter on hold, which actually helped my digestion, so it's a win. And then I cut out bagels because they're processed and we were really focusing on not eating anything processed. And he's like, stick to just these foods for 2 weeks and you will be feeling so much better. Or like, let me know how you're feeling. And I was like, bro, I could tell just looking at my wrists and like my ankles and stuff, just like how I felt in my body, that I was no longer super inflamed and my digestion was definitely better. But this was pre-hormones coming in and just being like, fuck yo, digestion, okay? Which I'll get to that in a moment. But at that point I was like, yo, I feel really good. And at the same time, I was going to the chiropractor because my back has been an issue. I don't really know what's going on. But between everything going on, I took 4 weeks to ease back into the gym. Like the first week I did like RPE 7, which means you have like 3 reps left in the tank. So scale of 1 to 10, RPE 7 means you have 3 left. Then the next week I did like RPE 8 and then RPE 9. And then finally, after the 4 weeks was over, I took some things to failure. Yo, I'm strong as hell. I got 5 plates on the leg press on each side. I was like, let's freaking go. Destroyed my back. So we are still working through that. But in terms of circling back around to the digestion stuff, typically every single month when the full moon comes along, because a lot of women's cycles sync up with the full moon. And I still had like PMS symptoms, but I just wasn't bleeding. You know what I mean? Like I still had the PMS stuff. But typically my digestion would get super thrown off. Like I would just feel so sick. Yo, one day I was just working here and I was not okay. I was not okay. I literally shit my brains out all morning for no apparent reason. I was like, oh, that's nice. Really nice. It was the day the gym opened, so I couldn't even go lift. So that happened. And then I was like, okay, I think we're all right. And then the next week, my digestion was so bad. Like I thought I had gotten through it. My digestion was so bad that I was scared every single time I ate. Because every single time I ate, it resulted in stomach cramps. Like the twisting, like just not good. Not good. And I was like, well, I don't want to eat then. So I got in this lovely cycle of I'm scared to eat, so I'm not going to eat as much as I should. But what I do eat hurts my stomach, which doesn't make me feel good, which makes me scared to eat. So I'm not going to eat as much as I should. Do you see the problem here? So I was under eating, therefore not recovering in any way. Everything was a fucking mess. I'm not even going to lie to you. But I know that was like kind of a little tangent off into my journey, but it's important because it wraps into everything that I am explaining here with gut health and making sure that's in a good place. Okay, so anyways, blood work, we talked nutrition, we talked body composition, right? Gain weight, gain fat, and stay there. That kind of goes hand in hand with timeline. you're gonna have to spend time here. Like, your body keeps the score, like I mentioned earlier. If you're uncomfortable, think about how much more uncomfortable it would be if down the line you want to have kids and your period is not, your body's not working because you wanted to be leaner. Okay, fuck that. Fuck that. I don't know if I want kids, but I'm sure as shit gonna want the option. Okay, I'm not gonna like sterilize myself here or fuck shit up. Just saying. Okay, so let's jump into the natural supplementation side of things. And I don't want anybody blindly following what I did, what I'm doing, because it truly does depend on where your blood work is and like what issues you are having. So let me just tell you what will recommended for me, and because I trust this man with everything, I immediately ordered all of it, started taking it, 3 weeks later had a period. So, oh, I also stayed away from anything with artificials, so like cheese, cream cheese, anything processed, artificial sweeteners, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I got a thyroid support complex, I got chasteberry, I got DHEA, I got L-tyrosine, I got liposomal vitamin D3, and I also ordered Natural Calm, which I took on prep. That is a magnesium supplement. I think it is partly to blame for making me shit my brains out that one day, but I don't freaking know, dude. I'm not taking that shit anymore. I was also taking zinc and bergamot, I don't know if I'm saying that right, bergamot extract. That helps with the cholesterol because mine was a little bit high. And I was also taking a cortisol blocker, which be careful with those. Again, do not take this list and just order shit, please. But the cortisol blocker, you can only take it for like 4 weeks, then you need to cycle off it. So I actually just stopped taking that, but I was also taking primrose oil. So I'm not gonna dive into each of those supplements here because 1, this video is already gonna be super long. 2, we can all do our own research, but 3, I don't feel like that qualified to be like, here's when you would take zinc, because zinc and like magnesium can help with so much shit. Like, I just don't want to dive into that right now, but I do want to make it very apparent that I understand what I am taking and I am not taking it blindly, okay? Plus, if you end up contacting Will, which he's open to referrals, he genuinely just wants to help people. Like, the dude is so smart and like cares so fucking much. He's open to referrals. So again, I'll put his Instagram here. If you want to DM him, hit him up there, or you can go to his website. I don't really know logistically how that will work. That's something you guys can talk about, but he is so open to questions too. Like, I have no problem being like, what am I taking this for? So I don't want it to seem like I'm just like, yeah, here's the supplements I'm taking because Will told me to. Like, trust me, I did my research. I understand why I'm taking them, okay? So I wanted to touch on that. Now, as far as other things, other variables that I locked down to work toward regaining a cycle, they were mainly centered around reducing the stress in my body, because clearly my body was very stressed out. It was not recovering. It was inflamed, right? And I really was just like fatigued all the time. Oh my God. It was awful, but I thought it was normal. So, okay, sleep has always been a priority for me. I usually go to sleep by 11:30 and I wake up at 6:30. So that's 7 hours, but sometimes I'll go to bed earlier, like 11. So whatever. He says get 7.5 to 8.5 hours a night, no exceptions, which ya bitch loves sleep. So that ain't no thing. Meditation. You don't have to do anything crazy. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. I sit down in the morning with my legs crossed on my little pillow that you have seen, and I just close my eyes. And I don't do a guided meditation, and all I do is just practice staying present in the moment. So like if my mind starts to run away, I just pull my thoughts back to what I'm doing right now. And I also talk nicely to my body. I talk to it about how we're gonna heal. I talk to my back about how we're gonna heal. I talk to my uterus about how we're gonna build up a lining and we're gonna shed that shit, okay? Because we're gonna have a period. Like, I talk nice to my body because talking mean to it just doesn't work. Apparently, take it from me. But he is an advocate of, he calls it box breathing. So you'll do a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. I don't really do that, but focusing on nasal breathing is going to be super, super important, which is the next point here that he sent me. So anytime that you're breathing, all the time, right? Focus on nasal breathing. Yes, even when you are training, even when you're doing cardio, okay? You should not be like huffing and puffing unless you're doing like fucking sprints or it's like your last few reps of a very intense set. And the nasal breathing, like I'm telling you, I thought it was like, I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like I'm always huffing and puffing, right? But I'm telling you, it calms your body down because think about it. When you're like in fight or flight, or if you're like running away from something that like might get you, right? You're breathing through your mouth and you're just like so stressed out. Like you feel like you can't get enough oxygen. Therefore, your entire body is stressed. And I'm trying to reduce stress, right? So when you're nasal breathing, you feel safe. You're like, oh, I'm good. Like I'm getting enough oxygen. Like there's no reason to freak out. I'm not in fight or flight. That shit works. It helps so much. So try that out, especially when you're training. It's even when I would go on my walks here and I would walk up like really steep hills because hi, California, we're in the mountains, kind of on one side, the ocean's right there. But I would get into a routine where like I had like a breathing like pattern with my steps. It was actually really fucking cool that my body just like did that, but do that. Okay. Also, next point, outdoor walks, getting vitamin D through supplementation and through sunshine is so helpful. And it also helps with breathing, of course, and just like, it's not too taxing on your body, right? The best thing we can do, and I remember my high school gym teacher telling us this, the best thing you can do is walk, like just walk. Oh my God, it's so relaxing. Put on some good tunes. It's a lovely time. I take my walks very seriously. Now, the next thing is at night, electromagnetic frequency and blue light. So I wear blue light blockers at night, but I encourage all my clients to stay off your phone, like at least an hour before bed. And even if you're watching TV, like really just get a pair of blue blockers because that shit affects your sleep. That blue light tells your brain that it's daytime and that throws off your circadian rhythm, which is like your sleep cycle, right? And that's why people's sleep suffers so much with like all the screens. So that's a big one as well. The only other thing I want to touch on is training and recovery, because I have had people ask me about pulling back on training. And like, for me, I think that is the last piece of the puzzle, just looking at myself and looking at clients that I work with. If we've tried everything else to regain a cycle, just, you know, minimizing stress and natural supplementation and eating more and gaining weight and spending time there, and it's still not happening, sometimes we have to pull back on training just because the stress of training is what's keeping our body from feeling safe and having a cycle. So even during quarantine, I still trained 5 times a week because I was like on it, right? But all of this like started making sense to me and like being like, we started addressing it, right? Kind of toward the end of quarantine, right when gyms started opening up. And I was so fucking butthurt, dude, because I was ready to train so hard. I was like, yo, like, I mean fucking hard, guys. Like, you think you push yourself? Wait till Will Sage trains you, or like a trainer trains you, because holy shit, I have full transparency. I trained legs with him once. I have not gone back. I could not feel my face the day I left that gym. I couldn't eat the rest of the day. I was like, I'm not okay. But that kind of training, like that intensity, wrecks your central nervous system. And again, if you're not recovering well, which I wasn't, that's just an indication that your body just can't keep up with what you're doing, and you gotta chill balls, dude. So there were some weeks where I didn't go at all. There were some weeks where I went twice. There were some weeks where I did go 4 or 5 times. And like, I had to learn to be okay with that, which is really freaking hard. That's the mental side of things. That is so hard. But my body thanks me for it every single time, and it's something I'm still working on. Right now I am going 5 times a week, but if my back does not get better, like I'm gonna have to pull back on things, and I'm okay with that. Like, I just need someone to tell me to do that. Like, chiropractor, tell me, or like Will, tell me. But again, that's beside the point from this video. So sometimes that is the last piece of the puzzle with regaining your cycle, is just reducing training intensity and training frequency. You know, drop it down to 3 times a week, full body. Don't take shit to failure, like RPE 7 maybe. And it sucks because I feel like a little bitch when I'm in the gym and I'm not training like fucking hard. But we got to prioritize our overall health, ladies. Your period is like your monthly report card. And if something is wrong with your period, there's something wrong with your health. There's something else going on, because your period is just a reflection of what's going on internally. So if something's off, you know, that's a huge indicator. And I would encourage you to read the Period Repair Manual. My chiropractor sent it to me. It's like a 418 page PDF. It's like $10-15 on Amazon. It's by Lara Bryden. So helpful. She talks about why hormonal birth control is not the vibe and how you can, you know, have a normal cycle as a woman and how to address things holistically, which is my jam. And I'm not saying that hormonal birth control is bad. Like, I'm not here to debate birth control. I'm just here to like open some eyes and direct you to some resources. I've also heard really good things about the book Beyond the Pill. And also there's a Facebook group, and I think there's also a book. It's called No Period, Now What? And that's a great resource as well, which I had found out about that a few years back, but that was before I realized how fucking stupid I was being by not regaining my cycle. So anyway, I think that covers everything. But yeah, I think just like my overall message is like, listen to your body and give it grace and be patient with it, because I think when we get into all this fitness stuff, it's very appealing and addicting to control everything. So like, you know, I control my macros, I control my cardio, I control my training. So I control my body to get the results that I want. And like I said multiple times, the body keeps the score. It always keeps the score. So the more you can just surrender and let it do its thing, like any biofeedback that is off, like no period, weird period, not recovering well, super sore, keep getting injured, digestion is off, sleep is off, stress is up, like all this shit, if anything is off, your body is just telling you, it is begging you to please just like surrender and let it do its thing. Like it knows what it's doing. Bodies are so fucking smart, and we just gotta get out of the way. So I know this video is pretty lengthy, but I wanted to cover everything. I really hope I didn't forget anything, and I hope this was really helpful. Again, I am educating myself to become a better coach and a better advocate for hormonal health, just for myself and for everyone I work with. And I would love to help. But again, I don't feel qualified enough to just like tell you what to do right now, because obviously I'm not a doctor, and also I'm still learning myself. But like I said, Will knows his shit. He's open to referrals, hit him up. But also, you know, go to your freaking doctor. The Period Repair Manual actually has a chapter in it about how to talk to your doctor, because a lot of doctors in Western medicine, it's not their fault. This is how they're trained. They just want to prescribe something and just like slap a band-aid on it, and maybe you go on birth control to like fix some problems, but when you go off birth control, those problems are still going to be there, and like that's just putting your body through a lot for no reason. Okay, so with that, I think that's everything. And yeah, if you have questions, drop them below. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, as always, if you watched until now, I am taking all my good vibes, I'm sending them your way. If you could give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell before you leave, that would be dope. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.